If you're a creator, chances are you have heard of Like to Know It, LTK, the social commerce platform that influencers and creators love. I'm so excited to bring to you guys Reesa Lake, who is the VP and head of creator agency and partnerships over at LTK, to spill the beans on what it takes to be a successful LTK creator and more. Reesa helps creators grow their income by expanding LTK's reach across new platforms, industries, and audiences. She focuses on building strong relationships with creators and their talent managers to help them succeed across all channels. But before LTK, she was partner and executive VP at Digital Brand Architects, DBA, where she was the company's first talent manager. She played a major role into turning influencers into million-dollar businesses and redefining what it means to be an influencer, bringing both online and offline talent into the spotlight. Reesa's worked with top lifestyle names like Camila Correio, Rachel Parcell, and Paola Alberti. She is a trailblazer in the influencer space and deeply understands how this industry works. And I can't wait for you guys to listen to today's episode, where we're going to talk to her about all things monetization on LTK. We'll talk to her about the creator economy and trends. And I'm also asking her advice as a past talent manager when it comes to negotiations and advocating for yourselves. I can't wait for you guys to listen in. Hi, Reesa. Welcome to Influencer Confidential. We are so pumped to have you on here as an OG in the creator space and pick your brain. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm loving the pink blazer.
I know. I feel like it's like on brand for you guys. Like we have to be like fashionable.
You do. I want to click through to your LTK.
I love that. Well, Reesa, we're so excited to have this conversation with you because, as I've said before, and as I said in my introduction, you've been in this industry forever and ever, which is a great thing. And I think you're going to be able to share so much insight, especially to our community of creators that are listening in, that are getting started, that are hungry, that are excited. But before we dive into all the good stuff, if you could just start us off, telling us a little bit about your role at LTK and kind of how you got there.
Yeah, of course. So you say OG, I say dinosaur, others say seasoned, but I have been in this space for a very long time. And I started my career in traditional PR where, my goal was to get placements in magazines and traditional media, dress celebrities for red carpet. And when the market crashed and my brands were not advertising, I had no way to fill up my status reports for my clients. So I started to seed at the time what were bloggers, which were more so online blogs where people were taking stock images and, writing their description of whatever the products were, but it was nowhere near what influencer is today. The first time I ever started working with bloggers in that sense. And then fast forward, I ended up taking a role at DBA, which was the first agency representing influencers before Instagram existed. Spent 10 years at that company, managing talent, representing talent, and then launched our brand partnerships team, helped grow, create, and cultivate Dear Media, all which were really focused on the intersection of creator, influencer, brand, and media. Did that for 10 years. We were acquired by United Talent Agency, UTA, and went on to spend a couple more years at DBA. And then I decided that there was kind of like no other big growth moments there for me. And I have such an entrepreneurial spirit that I love to always be building and doing something different and being able to kind of like pivot in my role, even though still doing, my main scope of services under whatever that role is, but I want something new. So I made the really difficult decision to leave DBA, and Amber Vensbox, the founder of LTK, was the first person that I reached out to. I just really, really strongly believed in the power of creator commerce. And that was a big focus of what I did at DBA, was really recommending what platforms creators should lean into, because I saw firsthand the opportunity for them to make 7 figures in commission. So I called Amber. She said, let's figure out how to get you into the org. And I joined the company to really build out our creator agency partnerships team. So we work with all of the talent agencies, from the DBAs to the Shines, to the sociable societies, to WME, to UTA, to CAA, and kind of everyone in between. And like our goal is to make agencies feel like they have the support that they need to make their creators as successful as possible. So I lead a team that focuses on that. I also have a heavy hand in a lot of events that we do, from smaller regional events to our LTK cons. And I touch a bunch of other things, including the onboarding of really high profile creators and celebrities to LTK as well.
You literally do everything, basically.
I am it's also like self-inflicted, because
I know,
I
always
thoroughly enjoy being busy and always having a new special project. If I don't have a calendar that is booked every half an hour, I feel like I'm not doing a good job. And again, that's all self-inflicted, and that's something maybe I should like talk to a therapist about, but I always want to feel like I'm working on something exciting that is going to drive the business beyond, again, like what my job is.
Totally. And you're living with purpose. Like you love what you do. So you're just like in it full swing. It's just one of those spaces. I get it. So I think what's interesting is because you've worked with some of the world's most powerful influencers and most successful influencers, I wonder, are there patterns, traits, things that you see amongst the top creators that you're like, she's a star, he's a star? Like, what are some of the, elements that separate these big powerhouses from the rest?
Yeah. And, I think it's not even the big powerhouses. I think that it's also what can separate, more of an emerging creator as well is really the depth that they're building with their community and how they engage with the community. And a lot of brands, they have dedicated teams that are focused on community management. Creators are their own community management. And I think the ones that are most successful are the ones that have a deep relationship with their audience and their fans and their followers, where if that follower were to meet them, they'd feel like they already have a relationship with them, because that means that that influencer or creator most likely is commenting back to them. They're giving, hearts back on comments. There's a really deep trust and engagement between the creator and the follower. And I think that that happens at almost every life cycle of a creator. I also think that truly drives the engagement, so that when you're looking at, from brands and when they're investing in creators, it's beyond just the reach. So like the mega creators may have millions of followers, but if their engagement rate is 0.2 and they're not commenting back and they don't have that trust relationship, the content is not going to hit the algorithm on that creator's profile. So the brand is not going to get that reach. And two, if it is a campaign or a partnership that's tied to sales, that creator doesn't have the trust with their audience to drive the metrics needed for success in that campaign. So all successes of creators is tied back to the deep trust that they have with their community and the ability to continue to engage with that community.
I love that. It's interesting though, because I find that like as creators grow and they hit this like not point of no return, but that engagement gets harder and harder to manage, right? Because one of my friends was like, imagine 350,000 people having your phone number, like the amount of texts, right? DMs or like
Yeah.
just measurement that I get. But I guess for a creator to scale and this idea of trust and community is they can't let their foot off the pedal, so to speak. Like you can't just get like huge and then be like, okay, I forgot about the people that brought me there. So kind of keeping that energy towards the engagement. So is engagement sort of, I guess, from a brand perspective or on your side, a metric that brands are still looking at, like in order to kind of determine if a creator is potentially worth working with? Is that still one of the big KPIs that brands are interested in?
A lot of the brands that we work with are focused on sales. They're focused on ROAS. Like, what is this spend going to result in after a partnership wraps? And we're also working on a lot of upper funnel campaigns that are really focused on the entertainment content. So I'd say it really depends on what the brand is. Some want to see a return on their spend, and some just want, content that is really sticky and engaging and is going to pull in that consumer and is truly, more so the entertainment, where I'd say a lot of brands are focused on really what is the sales, but you're not going to get entertainment and you're not going to get sales if you don't have engagement. So I'd say
Totally.
engagement is like the underlying metric for success. You can't have a successful campaign if the audience is not engaged. And, we're seeing across social media is just, the algorithms are continuing to deprioritize creators in their followers' feeds. Like I see it firsthand. I'm going through Instagram and I'm like, oh my gosh, what happened to this creator? They completely fell off the earth. And no, they didn't. They're posting. They're just not in my algorithm anymore. They've fallen off. But now I'm seeing suggested accounts that I should go follow. So I think that building that true engagement is going to drive the success metrics, whether that is entertainment, whether that is PR value. It all goes back to the deep trust with the community.
You mentioned the idea of creators not being able to get seen, right? So there's that underlying frustration of like, I'm doing everything, I'm posting, I'm creating, I'm researching, I have a hook, I have it all, right? But reach is down and it's down across all platforms. And there's like this immense frustration. And even though we'll say to creators, don't tie yourself to your likes or your worth, but I mean, it's hard. You put a lot of effort in a piece of content and no one's seeing it and you're frustrated. So what would you say to creators that are feeling frustrated with like these algorithm changes? How can they kind of find solace, so to speak, or
Yeah.
how can they make amends with it? Because it is frustrating.
Yeah, and I really feel for creators. They're spending so much time and energy creating this content, sharing it, and they've also built the community. They have spent years, some have spent decades building up who their following is. So to now not be able to reach them is really, it has created a lot of like insecurity, and it has created a lot of frustration, and a lot of creators are feeling like there's a mistrust in platforms as well. And I think with LTK, our sole focus has been to build a platform. So we have two apps. We have one, the creator app, and two, the consumer app, where consumers can discover creators, follow creators they love, get engaged with the creators that they have a deep relationship with, that they've maybe found on social media, but they can really keep up with them on LTK. And everything that we're building on LTK is to make sure that creators really can reach that audience, so that when you are following a creator and you are going into LTK and you're scrolling, you're seeing all of the creators that you follow. You are not being inundated with, advertisements or creators that maybe you don't know within your following feed. We recently launched a watch tab, which allows creators to get more visibility to new followers. But on LTK, everything that we're doing is so that you can reach that audience in a trusted place, and building out tools that allow you to have deeper connection with those audiences.
So it feels more of like of a home base, right? So that's kind of where you guys,
100%. That, I mean,
yeah.
that's what Amber says, our founder. LTK is your home base. It's where you can meet and keep that audience, and you don't feel like you're going to lose them to another motive of a platform. So everything
Yeah.
that we're doing in LTK is to make creators as economically successful as possible. So all of the push notifications, all of the messages that we send out on behalf of creators. Last year, we sent close to 1 billion push notifications to consumers to bring them back into LTK and bring them to that creator's profile. We're not sending them off to a brand's website. We are not sending them off to a third party. It's truly to bring those audiences to them, so that they can, one, increase sales that they have from that community, but truly to help them build a deeper connection with that audience.
No, and I think that's amazing. I think it's interesting. I'd actually love if you don't mind sharing a little bit more about this Watch Creators New You functionality, because I feel like it is a new update
Yeah.
that you guys are rolling out. So it'd be nice to maybe kind of hear from the horse's mouth direct. What are some of these changes that are coming down the pipeline over at LTK for creators who are maybe already on the platform and excited to hear more?
Yeah, we are really excited about all the work. It started really in December of last year. We decided to build a whole new consumer app. So the goal was to create an app that was very rich in video content and really centered around video entertainment content, a watch tab, and a following tab. So your following tab will always be sacred. It's where you can follow and catch up with the creators that you have already opted in to follow. You already probably have a connection to them in some way. But we launched a watch tab where now creators' video content will be surfaced up in the watch tab. And within the watch tab, you can sort and search by different categories. So you could search by interest, which is really exciting. So if you know that you love beauty creators, and then you can also search by location and find creators near you. So say I'm going into New York City this weekend and I want to see what creators are wearing in New York City. I can toggle over to New York City, and then I'm going to see Brooklyn Blonde in my watch feed, and I'm going to see what her style is. Then if I'm really interested in beauty trends in New York, I can search beauty in New York to see what kind of the beauty trends are in that market. Again, a way to give creators another way in LTK to build and grow their community, but also for consumers to give them what they're interested in, and to make it easier for them to discover creators in a market that they live. So it's something that we've been really excited about. And then we've also just rolled out so many new tools for creators to make posting more efficiently, and also create content that we know that they want the tools to create. So we rolled out a whole new editing suite of tools where you can now add music to content in LTK. You can do captions, you can do overlays, voice. All of the needs that you have for content editing is now available in LTK. It's not fully rolled out to all creators. We're still in a beta phase, but we're rolling out chat where creators can actually create a chat with their audience.
That is so exciting.
Yes, we're very excited about chat. We're already starting to see great success with the creators who have access to that. But, when we sit around, and we have over 850 employees at LTK, and our entire focus is how do we build like products that make creators' lives easier to build and grow a community? How do we make products that make it really easy for consumers to discover creators, to shop from creators, to spend time with their favorite creators, and then also tools that really help optimize brands, campaigns that they are running in all different shapes and forms. But when we sit around with our product developers, and I'm lucky that I get to be in those rooms, and we're talking about what do we build next, we are brainstorming, like, what are our customers asking for? What are creators asking for? And then two, what can we build that will future proof their business, so that if for some reason a social media platform is no longer in existence, or if the algorithm continues to depreciate the content, what can we build that will make sure that they are still able to have an income from the audience that they've built?
So let's talk about the income piece, because there may
Yeah.
be people here that are listening in. My community is all creator centric,
Yeah.
and we're always talking about monetization, just different ways to monetize. And I think originally when we think LTK, especially for creators that are just kind of getting in and putting their toes in, we're thinking of standard affiliate. But I know that you guys also work brand deals through LTK as well. So I would love just to take a second and talk about monetization very specifically. How are creators using LTK to foolproof their businesses, but financially, right? Like, how are creators making money on LTK? What are the different ways?
Yeah. How are you future proofing, and how are you diversifying that modification? I know that when creators, I remember, when I managed talent and I'd sit down in a conference room and say, what are your dreams? Everybody said, I want to land brand deals. I want to land brand deals. But I think that sometimes they land that brand deal and they're like, oh my gosh, there's so many requirements with this brand deal. And, the brand is really trying to take control of the content. And what's incredible about the opportunity to monetize on LTK is you don't have to wait around for a brand to bring you a brand deal. You can monetize content from follower one. So being able to earn commission across over 1 million brands on LTK is an incredible way to increase that monetization. Again, not having to wait around for a brand. But then on our brand side, we are operating campaigns on behalf of brands in many different ways. So we are running, large scale paid campaigns with big retailers and brands like Quince and Amazon and Target, Adidas. And then we have a marketplace where creators can actually go in and they can pitch themselves to brands. So they can provide all of their data and information. They can, try and secure partnerships with these brands that are offering paid and gifting campaigns. We also have a obligation-free gifting platform where creators can opt in to receive a gift from a brand. We are launching new collaboration opportunities, which will be coming and announced very soon. But they are all different ways that creators can work with brands, because it's not a one size fits all, and it gives you the opportunity to have more control instead of having to sit around and wait for a brand campaign.
And it looks like you don't have to choose, which is the lovely part. Like, you can
Yeah.
do the affiliate side, you can opt into certain brand campaigns. There's like a little bit of both. So they're not at odds with each other. It's not like I have to be one or the other. Like, you get to
No,
have a
and
little bit of both in your
yeah.
mix.
And leaning into LTK and being able to show a conversion story for a brand is only going to help to elevate you to that brand for those bigger paid collaborations. Think of LTK as almost your resume to brands, because you're able to show them not only the content, but then brands will have access to the analytics. They're able to see leaderboards of creators that are performing for them, which then really opens the door to bigger partnerships. And we have over 200 millionaires on LTK who have made $1 million in just commission earnings. There's this incredible success story of a creator who we met with back in 2022. Her goal was to go to LTKCon, which is our conference that we host once a year in Dallas. It's all of our top creators and those that are rising. It's an incredible opportunity to build community and to really bring them into what we're working on, what we're launching for them for the coming year. And that was her goal. And we saw that she was posting content consistently across social media platforms, but in LTK, she wasn't sharing that. So we really worked on a strategy for her to build out that content, make sure that she was posting her TikToks, and fast forward, she's earning $500,000 in commissions on LTK. So I think for creators who who are getting started and trying to think about really how do I elevate to the next level on LTK, really thinking through what that content mix is, and that's really going to resonate to brands.
Yeah, you guys are like basically the ultimate case study. Something we tell creators here a lot is like, look at your ability to convert, right? Look at your, not only your clicks, but your conversions, like you're saying. And this is going to help creators eventually on the brand deal side charge more, maybe pitch longer term campaigns, because again, it's like the proof is in the pudding, and
Yeah,
LTK has like this ability to be like, hey, look, my content converts. It's not
yeah,
just posting something funny, but like people buy what I
yeah,
say. I mean, the true definition of influence, right? People are acting when you tell them to
yeah.
do something, which is quite
And we're
awesome.
also like evolving, what it is that we're showing to how are we giving brands more information on creators so they can make really, informed decisions about who they partner with. So we recently launched new casting cards to brands. So any creators who are listening, make sure that on LTK you have filled out your brand profile, make sure that you have authenticated your socials, because those are like step 1 and 2 of landing those brand deals, because now all of your insights are going to be shown to brands in the casting card. So previously brands would only be able to see ROAS. They weren't able to necessarily see your social reach and all of the value that you brought in terms of earned media to the brand, which is now something that we are showing to brands across a couple of different surfaces on LTK. So make
That's
sure you're
that's
authenticating
major.
socials. Yeah.
Yeah, that is major. And what about the creators that are looking to join? Are there requirements? It's application based, correct? So,
Yep.
what makes a creator ready to apply and ready to start their LTK journey?
Yeah, I would say make sure that you have a public Instagram. That is step 1. Make sure that you have an engaged audience. And what's really exciting about LTK is that while we may have started being very heavy in fashion and beauty, we've now expanded into many different verticals. So we have travel brands on LTK, we have food brands on LTK, we have more like CPG and consumer brands on LTK. So I think some creators might be like, I don't know if LTK makes sense for me, but with all of the diversification that we have made across our over 1 million brands on LTK, there is truly an opportunity to monetize content. And then I would say just apply. And then what we've done is we've built out, a really rich experience for onboarding. So we have 101 webinars and 102 webinars. So you feel like you really have an opportunity to hear from an LTK on like how to actually get started, how to create a post, what are those best practices. And then I'd say in terms of like starting off, making sure that your LTK truly is, a representation of who you are as a creator and content that you're sharing. Like thinking outside of just what is maybe like one vertical that you're sharing, giving them a glimpse into your entire life.
Cool. And lastly, before we move on to some
Yeah.
talent management questions, just to wrap up here at the LTK monetization, in terms of your own algorithm, like does LTK have its own algorithm? Because I know I always call the algorithm kind of like the Wizard of Oz, like the person behind, like no one knows. And people are always like algorithm, and growth. And like, is that something that we're seeing also over on the platform? Like, are there specific things that creators should be doing? Because you mentioned, oh, those collage styles don't do well. So, like, what does do well over on LTK for people who are looking to put effort into growing their presence over there?
The goal is for creators to be able to reach their community. So on your following tab, that is not an algorithm based feed. That is based on the creators that you follow when they post. And then, but the watch tab, that is an opportunity for more discovery to find and engage with more consumers. So I would say just making sure that you're providing really authentic content that kind of touches every level. I don't want that upper funnel content, like that truly engaging content that is entertainment focused, that like brings in that follower. So they're invested in you as a creator. And then you're going to want the lower funnel content. We want content that's really going to convert for those brands. So really thinking through the diversification of still content, image content, really engaged videos is going to do really well and going to surface on that watch tab. Right now, the watch tab is only video content and focused on more of the upper funnel, like truly like why do you go and like death scroll on a platform? Like that's what the watch tab is. Like our consumers are really engaged in that tab and they're able to discover new creators, follow directly from that page. And I'd say for creators, like really making sure that they're front and center, that they are main character energy of their content, that it's truly representative of who they are, and that it is, a resume for different brand partnerships. So if you are a food creator, a chef, a culinary expert, and you want to move more into the fashion vertical, LTK is also a great place where you can do that. So sometimes people don't want to feel like they don't want to disturb their feed on social media. LTK gives you the opportunity to really merchandise your entire life. So you can create content, you can save it to collections, you can create product sets, and it gives you the opportunity to truly build out what would be, the entire like Nina's lifestyle all in one platform, giving you the ability to really expand into other verticals as well.
Also humanize your brand, right? Like for
Yeah.
so long, my company has been that, like a company. It's like, but removing Nina from the company, building and humanizing myself, like what I'm doing, what I'm wearing. And it kind of adds this element for creators here that are, potentially in my shoes, right? Have a business and they're pulling themselves out of it to also build their personal brand. I feel like because people ask me all the time, like, oh, where'd you do that? Or where'd you do this? And it's like giving them another place. So for creators not feeling like they have to almost kind of fit in a box, especially if we're in the business niche. So I do kind of want to pick your brain because there's a lot of
Yeah.
creators in here. Again, monetization, brand deals, that's our specialty at Sidewalker. We really help creators and we get to see behind a lot of brand partnerships. It's actually really exciting to hear the data that you shared, those case studies about over 200 millionaires just on commissions. Because I don't get to see a lot of the commission stuff. I see brand deal stuff, but that is so exciting to see that element as well. But let's talk a little bit from the talent, put your talent manager hat on. I know it's back in the day, but I get asked, like, do I need a manager? Is this something I should be looking at as I grow? Or are the barriers to entry a little easier? Like people are direct pitching on LinkedIn or creators are kind of managing themselves. Would you say that in today's world, like do creators need a manager to be successful? And if at what point should they start looking for representation?
It's a great question. I don't think that a creator needs a manager to be successful. I think it's important to really think about like what it is that you're really looking for from this manager. And I think this also goes for influencers who are thinking about maybe moving management companies because they're not happy with their current management company. And like there truly has to be like value in it for the manager and value in it for the creator. Because you think most management companies, they're only making, anywhere from 15 to 30% on commission on what the creator is making. So they already have to have a track record of securing brand deals and having income to, I think, be ready for management. Otherwise, management might not necessarily be as excited because how is that manager going to make money? But I also think for a creator, sometimes there is the opportunity for them when they're first starting out to be more nimble and to take advantage of, platforms like LTK in our marketplace where you can go in and you can pitch brand partnerships and you can kind of like start to build up that Rolodex of opportunities that you have secured and that you have managed and executed, and then kind of scale that to bring it to management. And I think it's really important to think through management of like, you're going to have a very, very, very close working relationship with your manager. And I think it's really important when you're signing on with a manager is to be really explicit in what expectations are. Because if you're expecting that a manager is going to quadruple your income and the manager thinks that they're only going to double, you're much better to have those really honest conversations at the onset and then make sure that you feel really comfortable with that manager. So if you're talking to a management company, you may be talking to somebody on that team that is responsible for acquisition. I would always recommend that you have a phone call with who your actual manager would be to make sure that like you get on a call and you feel like there's a synergy with this person because they're going to be deeply ingrained into your business and there's going to be so much, confidential and proprietary information that this manager has access to, and making sure that your working styles really align. If you expect to have, daily communication from this manager, it's important to state that up front because that manager may have other clients that don't really want to hear from them. They just want to get a weekly report of what is upcoming, what they're being pitched for versus that consistent day-to-day communication. So making sure that there's value in it for both partners. Otherwise, you're not going to be successful. But I think being really, really explicit in what those expectations are and how you want to work with that management company and making sure that you get to talk to who your actual manager would be. And not all management companies are created equal. Like all of them, and with the managers within those companies, everybody has different working styles of how they work with clients. And I think making sure that you find somebody who's truly truly passionate about you, somebody who's invested in you and your business and wants to see you grow and succeed. Like back when I was a talent manager, my greatest joy was when I was able to make my clients' dreams come true. And when we were able to land them that book deal together. And then we were able, I remember clients call me up and saying, I was able to actually buy my first home because of the work that we have done together. So making sure that all parties are invested, but just because you have 100,000 followers does not mean that you're ready for a manager. Are you have an influx of campaigns that you need assistance in negotiating and then managing all of those campaigns, because that's a deep value that a manager brings to a creator, is not only getting the deals, but negotiating the existing deals. And then the other value that managers bring beyond just having a depth of knowledge of what's happening within the industry, they also know what the market will bear. They likely know what these brands' budgets are. Also, a lot of brands, they don't want to work with a million creators just one off. They would much rather bring a budget to a talent agency and say, here's $50,000. Who should I work with? What should the scope of work be? Versus having to go and negotiate 50 individual creator contracts. So there's definitely more opportunities that come with management in terms of brand collaborations. But if you're not at the point where you have brand collaborations, you should start seeking those out on your own. And I think that LTK Marketplace is a great way to start.
And what about the affiliate side of the business? I know you said every talent agency they're going to do it their own way and every manager is going to run their own way. But would you say typically, like, would that fall outside of the scope of what a manager would be able to be compensated for? So when we think about like brand deals, that's clearly under the management bucket. You mentioned a book launch. Okay, the manager's involved. But does a manager also, in your experience, get a percentage of the affiliate business as well? Or how does that kind of fall into the puzzle?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question. And it really depends on the creator when they're signing a contract. How much does that creator currently making through affiliate or on LTK? And if they are, one of those millionaire creators that have reached that status, it's very unlikely that they are going to give a percentage of that commission, because on their own, without the support of the manager, they have built up that revenue. But I think for many new and emerging creators, the management company or agent does take a percentage of their commissions, because as their manager, their job is to not only like secure the deals, but their job is to help grow them, help give them the strategy to get more opportunities, leverage their relationships. Like on my team, we do monthly meetings with our agency partners, giving them the best tips and tricks of what we're launching on LTK that really can help provide creators the opportunity to grow. We also elevate creators for brand collaboration opportunities through our agency partners. Like we will go out to them with asks and they pitch back their clients. So if the agency is not incentivized to earn, then it's not going to, I feel like, drive as many opportunities for that creator. Again, thinking about people who are not making millions already. But I would say for creators, making sure that you're looking at the contracts and looking at what those percentages are. I know that some management companies will take a lower percentage of affiliate commissions. I know some will completely take it off the table if there's already a track record of success. I know some will also create a contract where they're only commissioning on, the delta. So say as a creator, you're making $100,000 in commissions, but you sign with a management company and they're able to grow you. And now you're making $200,000 in commissions. Maybe they're only commissioning on 50,000 of the delta between what you were previously making. So it's not a one size fits all.
Yeah.
If you're new and you don't have a proven track record, a lot of management companies are starting to take that percentage.
The way you explain it makes sense, because think about it from the manager's perspective. They're sitting in on meetings, they're sitting in on LTK meetings. So hopefully your LTK growth then lands you a brand deal. I mean, they're involved in your business. So to kind of cut them out from that space kind of feels funky too, because they're sitting in on these like growth calls and they're just embedded in your business. So I think it's ultimately just track record, track record, track record. And when they join you, are they from the ground up or they're joining you once you're already at a certain point? I think that's a great way to look at it. And lastly, before we move on to just creator economy trends, to wrap up a bow on talent management, for creators who are negotiating for themselves, any sort of negotiation tips, or what should creators understand when it comes to, rates and advocating for yourself and knowing when to walk away and all these scary things that you only can learn through doing, not through like theory. But any thoughts on that negotiation piece? Because I feel like that is such an instrumental part of the manager's role. And
Yeah.
I'm sure you've done your fair share of negotiations.
Yes, Yes, I have. I think it's really important to know your value and know your worth beyond just what like your audience loves you. And yes, engagement and hearts and comments can help fuel your growth and your engagement, but that's not necessarily visible to brands. So most likely when a brand is getting, a pitch from you or your bio, they're like just flipping through pages of bios. And they're like, okay, like these metrics, these metrics, these metrics. So I think if you're pitching yourself, making sure that you are really beyond just your name, you kind of almost have to assume that this brand doesn't know who you are, which is like really, really unfortunate in some cases because you may have millions of followers or you may have hundreds of thousands of followers. But I think really how can you show your value? So including your engagement rate, including any kind of like, success metrics that you have so that you just don't expect them to read a bio and see your reach and then offer you $5,000. I think it's about really showing kind of, what is the value that you can bring to a brand partnership. And, that's kind of like the great thing about the new casting cards in LTK is that is wrapping that up in a bow for that brand, which is why we built this out, because we're not only just showing your ROAS, we're showing all of the engagement that you have for campaigns. So I'd say for creators who are just trying to pitch themselves and land those opportunities, even if you're trying to get a brand partnership on LTK and you have a creator success rep or you're managed by an agency, like often these agencies are giving us these success metrics that creators have so that we're able to drive additional partnerships for them.
Awesome. That's awesome. So, creator economy, because we're always trying to make predictions, whether we're right or wrong, any sort of current trends that you're seeing in our world or magic ball predictions for what's next. Of course, we're not going to hold you to it, but just more to think about like, what are you currently kind of seeing that's kind of, that is big and it's happening and creators should move on, and anything that you envision coming down the pipeline?
Yeah, I mean, I would say community, community, community. At the end of the day, beyond, the content that you're creating, your community and the trust that you've built with that community is your value. And I think that brands are going to continue to lean into creators who have built community across platforms and have that truly trust with their audience, because that's going to drive all of their success metrics. Influencer marketing is not going anywhere. Goldman Sachs estimated 2027, it's going to be a $500 billion industry. It's kind of crazy to think back from like my original talent management days. And I was like, is this going to be a thing? It's certainly a $1 billion thing. So I'd say it's going to be driven much more by community and then like diversification of content, and for new creators to be able to have a place to build out really rich audiences. And I think that like creators that have millions in reach, there's just as much opportunity for creators who have a deep trust relationship with 15,000. Like there's this one creator who I'm friends with, and she had 15,000 followers on Instagram. She has more followers on LTK than she does on her Instagram channel. So I'd say it's not going anywhere. Can figure out a way to continue to diversify your monetization and then focus on building that community. And on LTK, we truly give you that opportunity to build it and to nurture it. And it really is that home base.
So it's not saturated then, because there's always that horrible S word. It's saturated. The market's saturated. Would you say for new creators that are just getting started, I guess based on what you're telling us, it's not going anywhere. So it's not saturated.
I mean, it's certainly saturated, but there's such this appeal from audiences to engage with creators, and that's not going away. We're just seeing more of it. And if you, I don't know, it's so interesting. We'll be, casting for a campaign, or I'm trying to find a speaker for an event that we're doing, and I'll post in our Gen Z Slack channel, say, who would you love to see? And the people that they bring up, I have never heard of. And granted, I'm a millennial and I'm back to a dinosaur, and they're much younger and they're spending many more hours on TikTok than I am. But also some of these creators, they have 30,000 followers, they have 90,000 followers. And to them, there's so much more value in that creator than some of the OGs that have 7 million followers. They're like, I'm not as excited about that creator. And I also think there's just like a huge opportunity for creators to blow up and truly, go beyond viral. I think Brand Flakes is a great example. He recently spoke at our Upfronts event, and he is somebody who, he over the past year, he has taken off and he's built a really large, successful business, but he is authentically himself. He is out there and he's truly engaging back with the community. He is liking back. He is commenting back. He's engaging. I don't know. I mean, I don't know if you followed
I do.
Jazz's wedding. I mean, that whole crop of influencers were not who they were a year ago. Nobody would have known who they were. And it's incredible that now they, I just saw that Jazz is on the cover of The Cut on my Instagram feed. So there's room.
I know they're like in Super Bowl commercials. I'm like, hi, I know you. Hi. It's
Yeah.
just it's a different world. I love to hear that. And just to wrap up, final words of wisdom or one thing you wish more creators understood, especially again, for our creators that are just listening in. A lot of the people in my community, I always call them like level two. That's
Yeah.
to say they're not just, they already have something brewing and they're like, okay, I need to make this real. They're
Yeah.
not learning how to grow. They've kind of figured that part out. But now they're like, I want to make this real. I want to quit my 9 to 5. I want to do this for real. Any words of wisdom to those creators?
Consistency, 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 community, community, community. I'd say that those, like, you need both for success. You have to create consistent, engaging content that is going to keep your audience coming back. Like I remember when Instagram stories first launched, I remember advising my talent that they needed to post stories every single day. Otherwise they were going to fall off the grid. And then the consumers were like, oh, that influencer isn't around anymore. The influencer is around, but they're just not in your algorithm. So the same thing on LTK. Being consistent in your posting is the only way that you're going to reach those consumers, that you're going to drive those engagements, and then ultimately drive those sales. And then community. Make sure that you're putting in the time. I know that you said at the beginning of this call, and I truly believe that creators have so much on their plate. They are the face of the content. They are shooting the content. They are editing the content, and then make me community manage on top of that. Like, I understand it is a lot, but if you can time block at least, I don't know, maybe it's an hour while you're multi-screening Love Island and your LTK and Instagram feed, make sure that you're re-engaging. Make sure that you are commenting back, that you're liking those posts, and it's truly going to help drive that engagement and being consistent.
I love that you touched on the consistency part as we wrap up, because everyone's always looking for a cheat code. It's like we always want the get rich quick, the lose weight fast, like all these little pieces. And it's like consistency is the cheat code. You have to kind of go through it to get out of it. And I love hearing that. This has been so lovely. Thank you so much for sharing your wisdom and sharing so much nuggets of information. We're really loving this and being able to kind of hear from your perspective, but also the changes that we're going to see. And I think all of us need to focus on community. I recently was speaking to Marina Middleton of Create and Cultivate, and they're so focused on in-person events, and I
Yeah.
love that. Community too. And she said something so brilliant. It's just like you can't force community, right? Like it's such a buzzword, but it's like no,
Yeah.
it's truly this. Like get in the ground with your people, like talk to your people. We all like we forget what that is. You can't automate that. You can't
Yeah.
outsource that. It's like you have to be living and breathing it for that
Yeah.
trust factor, because even though trust is not a tangible asset, it is the element when you are building your, influencer business. It's the hidden invisible string that ties it all
Yeah.
together. It's trust.
Yeah. And I'd say, like, for creators who are looking to be successful on LTK, I'd also say join a webinar. Like, hear the best practices. There's so much content that we're putting out to help creators strategize success. And we have a ton of learnings and a ton of case studies, and like we bring in other successful creators to share their stories. And we're launching so many new features that are truly meant to help you increase opportunities on LTK. So I would say, also following LTK creators on Instagram. We always post any new features that we're launching on that platform. We also share success stories and kind of what's happening within the LTK world, what events we have coming up. But there's a lot of new features coming out, and the adapting to those new features will truly help you elevate your profile in LTK and your earnings.
It's kind of like that first to act, right? So, I had a different word for 2025, but like 2026, I'm like speed. It's just like the
Yeah.
faster you are, to act on something that is elevating, you're going to probably grow fast. So if LTK is launching a watch now feature, it's like jump on now
Yeah.
before, you know what I mean? And 2 years
Yeah.
from now, it's like different. It's just acting
Be
faster.
a
So
first adopter. I
exactly.
mean, we saw the same thing across other social media platforms, like those that were quick to jump on. Like I know a lot of times, and I remember back when, we first were talking to brands about getting them on Facebook, and they're like, what other brands are on Facebook? I'd never be on Facebook. And it only took like, I don't know if it was like Balenciaga or Louis Vuitton to get on Facebook. And then I was able to get all of our other brands on Facebook because they just want to know who else was. Like, be the first.
It's like, who's at the
and
party,
yes,
Who's
yes, be
who's
the
going?
first at the party.
Yeah, I love that. Well, thank you so much, Reesa. I'll be sure to include in the show notes the LTK creator account link, as well as maybe a link to your resources
Yeah.
or an upcoming webinar. So you guys can go ahead and check that out if you want to connect with Reesa, her team, LTK, the community, sign on, all those good things. And we're so grateful you were here. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me.